Our sort of agenda of dialogue today is about pricing, effectiveness, and this sort of dirty yet omnipresent word of viewability when we talk about video. And I think you're moving a lot of dollars to your vantage point is really is incredibly valuable. What in sort of moving forward and actually moving more dollars to video, what keeps you up at night as far as making sure that you're hanging your hat on this space and you're held accountable to your clients?
The ads actually show up where you want them to and how you want them to, and they run, and that we can measure them properly. I think those are the big things today. And when we were talking yesterday, I did really mean it. We gave a checklist to our partners this year. It was less about, the fact that we're talking to you means we like your content, means we want to partner with you. That's all, sort of table stakes. But really what was important for us was operational compliance with a lot of different things. Is it the right kind of player? Are you going to measure properly? Are you going to use the demo validation partner that we use? Are you going to tag with certain things that are important for us? For example, we really want to measure earned impressions for our client. So we work with a company called Visible Measures there. Are you going to allow us to tag with that? There was just really 3 pages long of a checklist that we spend a lot of time taking a lot of people. And the cool thing was we not only put that emphasis on our digital partners, but we also put that emphasis on linear partners. So it was working with NBC, but NBC.com, and making sure that we level the playing field. It's not just about the digital players, but it's about everybody who wants to have our money from a video digital perspective.
How do we balance that, right? Because one of the challenges of a lot of the conversations I've had from the buy side is that, and we're going to talk about creative in a minute, right? But on the effectiveness side, but just like brand safety and viewability and checking the checker, right? I mean, having a third-party ad serving platform isn't enough anymore in video to ensure that you're delivering, you're being trafficked, and it's being seen, right? I mean, that's an operational burden, that's an operational expense. You guys are being expected to do more for less as an agency. Brands want more for less. There's real costs here. Where does it all come together as far as, an equal sum game? How are you balancing that?
Well, I wish we didn't have to do some of those things, right? We're probably the only medium, my pet peeve is, we're the only medium, if you look at TV, if you look at all the other mediums, they don't spend so much money validating that their ads will show up, right? We have to, and it comes out of our media budget. So the people in this room are the folks that get hurt because the millions of dollars that I could have spent in media now go against all this operational stuff of checking that, yes, my ads showed up. So I think it hurts us as an industry, but the fact is, for the last few years, if we were getting the demo when we bought demo guaranteed impressions, we wouldn't have to validate it.
So how do we bring that up funnel to planning and buying?
I think we're beginning to, right? With all the things we are doing, like I was saying before, we are learning with all the measurement tools we're putting in place with Visible Measures or ComScore, Nielsen. All that is allowing us now to have that measurement in one place and get that in the hands of the right people within our agencies too. So the first part is you got to put the plumbing in place. You need to make sure that you're measuring all the right things. The next step is get all that data now in the right hands of the right people and start looking at it, but really build some insights out of that and then make it actionable. That is really the holy grail. We've spent a lot of time figuring out how to measure these things, but I think we're getting to a point where now we can take all this stuff and actually start making it much more actionable.
So one of my panels yesterday was talking about the fact that buying and planning, and whether it's in television or it's video or it's just digital overall, the kind of idea of like spots and dots and just filling in spreadsheets, like we're moving so far beyond that, and the bench of talent that is required to really serve the demands of current clients has exponentially increased as far as what the expectations are there. Are you finding it hard to keep a bench of media buyers and planners trained and up to date? I mean, it seems like there's a lot more for them to do with a lot less resources and a lot less time.
But that's why I think automation is extremely important, right? We need to have the right talent focusing on the right things, which is all the strategic, up funnel kind of things that you're talking about. And we need to take some of the manual stuff out of this equation. That's why automation is going to be really important. Everything that Christy and everybody was saying yesterday. That's why our teams need to stop thinking about, I need to change this IO 100 times before the campaign will go live. Need to automate some of those things. Need to automate the lines so that the data will flow in And then we can focus on actually reading that data and making sure we're bringing the right insights to our clients.
So just to kind of bring it full circle, I mean, you know, we've talked about the expense, the operational burden, the talent required, et cetera. Given that maybe 50% of video ads are not viewed, or you know, right now, as far as a standard. Well, I mean, you hear conjecture all over the board, right? Realistically, like that's worst case scenario. But given that we know a percentage are not being delivered, and there are still issues there because you got to check the checker. How much of that like financial burden, that cost burden, should be shared by the ecosystem? Like, what's the point in which you start pushing that back to some of the publishers to make sure that they're sharing that cost with you?
There are different schools of thoughts on that one, right? I mean, there are folks that will push the burden to the publishers because of all the things you just mentioned. There's a little bit of, do I want somebody grading their own homework? So, you know, from that perspective, I want to be able to control that relationship, and I want to make sure for our clients, we get that first read, we're able to take in. Look, if people are not going to do well on their grade, they're going to feel the pain anyway, because we won't be doing business with them. So I think it's important for us to control some of this. Hopefully what will happen is, and we're already beginning to see this, you know, when we started doing the demo validation, it started with 30, 40%. In terms of demo. We are way better today, 70, 80%. So all boats rise once you start putting the right things in place and the right measurement in place, and that's what we hope will happen with viewability as well.
Great. Thank you, Ritu. I appreciate it.
Thank you.